Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Now in today's video I've got a very special guest. I thought I would bring on a Brighton fan to get their point of view about the game, to listen to what they've got to say, because I thought Arsenal did win, but Brighton as a team I do have a lot of respect for how they've grown over the last few seasons, and I'm really looking forward to this. I'm joined by Joe, who is on the YouTube channel Albion Obsessed. So thank you so much, Joe, for coming on. I know it was a bit of a short notice one, so thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good, all good. Just been Christmas shopping, so you can imagine quite stressful.
Bit chaotic.
But yeah, very chaotic. What have we got? 7 days till Christmas, so I left it
Mad, isn't
very
it?
late. But
I'm like
hey
that
ho,
as well.
what
Leave it
can you
all to
do?
last minute.
Exactly that. Yeah, but I'm not doing too bad after the weekend. Normally, when you lose at the weekend, it sets the tone for the week, and you feel a little bit down. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's much to be down about. Losing to Arsenal, who were challenging for the title. So, yeah, didn't bother me too much.
Yeah, I thought we could start off a bit about that because obviously, I think I kind of see it as it's quite a professional win from Arsenal's point of view. I think we could have and probably should have scored more goals, but like I did say, I think a win's a win. You'll take a win no matter how many goals you score. And I did want to get your thoughts on the game. How do you, like a day after, how do you reflect on that game?
I reflect on it, seeing it as probably. So I said to the guys, I don't know if you watched the game last season when we beat you 3-0
Yeah.
at the Emirates. It was very similar because at the start of that game, Arsenal were just chance after chance after chance, and we were just staying resolute and frustrating them. And it seemed to work in our favour because we had the firepower to then turn the game on its head and, catch you off guard at the end and, really deliver the final blow. But that just goes to show how much Arsenal have changed as a team this season. They kept going and they got the first goal. As soon as they got the first goal, they just seemed to get better. And it was a shock for us. We're off the back of a really tough game against Marseille on Thursday night. Having just topped our Europa League group, we've got something like 8 senior injuries. So we probably don't have the squad that we had last season. But it is a massive credit to Arsenal and the football they're playing and the way Arteta has, molded this team into, I think, will be champions at the end of the season. You're getting results, as you say, in unlikely circumstances. Should you have got a result at Luton? Maybe not. But Declan Rice steps up at the right time. You have players step up at the right time yesterday. And I think that's the difference between the Arsenal we saw at the end of last season to now.
Yeah, I think like you said, obviously when we did lose 3-0 last season, I think Brighton were definitely the better team, and I think we did kind of fall off a bit. I've noticed, like with Arsenal, with the league, like you said, I think we are definitely up there. I know Man City, Liverpool, are in the mix as well, but I think it is quite a long season, and for Arsenal, we're quite dominant yesterday. I did think Brighton, I did expect them to do a bit more, but I suppose because, like you said, you're in Europe and, players will be a bit tired, a bit leggy. Do you think you could see that by their performance yesterday and the result?
Yeah, massively. I think, especially when you're going to, I think we probably played Arsenal at the wrong time, because at the end of last season we were on our charge towards Europe, and Arsenal hadn't had the results they wanted, and the first sucker blow comes and Arsenal dropped their heads, and we were able to take advantage of that. But this time we're in the middle of the season. We've just played a crazy amount of games, crazy amount of football, and as I say, we haven't got a big squad at all. And Arsenal have so much quality from goalkeeper all the way through to Gabriel Jesus. So it was just a case of playing Arsenal at the wrong time. I think had we have played you guys in a a non-Europe week, we probably would have given you a better game. But it was just, I think, the fact that we were so mentally tired and physically tired that we couldn't deal with. I think it was an Arteta masterclass. He just, in the first half, we didn't have a shot. That's Brighton didn't have a shot, and we've scored in consecutive 32 Premier League games, I think it is. And so that's a massive credit to the way Arsenal set up. And yeah, I think it just goes to show that, you know, Lewis Dunk was our man of the match, and that goes to show what sort of game it was that a defender's getting man of the match. And yeah, it was frustrating to watch. You know, you don't like to watch your team not having a shot or not having a foothold in the game, but you have to respect the opposition and who we're playing against.
Yeah, I think like you said, and especially in the first half, I think you did make it difficult for us, especially Lewis Dunk. I think he did put his body on the line quite a lot, and you could see he was really fighting for Brighton not to score. And I think in the first half, going in, I did feel like it could have been like a missed opportunity. The second half, would we regret not taking them chances? And fortunately for us, we did have more of them chances, and I think Jesus was just. I think he was at the right place at the right time, and I think we did really need that goal for our confidence. But like you said, he didn't really have many of those chances in the first half. And now in the second half, he did really start to have a few more chances. But did it surprise you like how dominant Arsenal were in the game? Because like you said, all season you have been a lot more better with you've been creating more chances, and this game has come at a bad time for you because you know you're in Europe and players are getting quite exhausted and you've got a few injuries. So did that surprise you how dominant Arsenal were in the game?
Not really.
Mm.
You go to Arsenal, who are what I think at the start of the game were a point off of the top of the table. Now you're top of the table, and you go to your place, and you expect Arsenal to really take a foothold in the game and give it to you. I think that the thing I was most surprised about is our attacking output. We had Mitoma, Adingra, Lallana, Ferguson all up front, and they're the players you expect quality from. They're the players you expect to drive you up the pitch, and it just wasn't happening for us. But again, how much of that goes down to how much pressure Arsenal were putting on us, and making a Brighton team who have played, you know, stunning football for a long time, making us put 11 men behind the ball. And yeah, I don't think I'm overly surprised, as I say, given where we are in the season, how important the points are for Arsenal to get those points at home and make a statement as well. I think it's a big statement to beat Brighton, and that's not me being big-headed, but we've had some really good results against some really good teams in the last 12, 18 months. And it's probably quite a big mental thing for Arsenal as well. I mean, I think we've beaten you at the Emirates 3 times in a row before this. So all of these things where you're ticking all these sort of like mental blocks off just goes to show again what charge Arsenal were on this season. So as I say, I can't be too disappointed with how the game panned out.
Yeah, I think Brighton has always been like one of those games where we just struggle like home away. Over the last few seasons, it's just been. I think we did struggle with lower league teams, like I think especially Brighton. So I think I did think going to the game, I did think it would be quite a tight game. I think it, yeah, I think Arsenal. I think the result flattered you guys a bit, but I think it shows you how good defensively Brighton did. Like you said, Lewis Dunk did really incredible, and defensively, I think you've got one of the best records possibly in the league. So, and I think you're doing really good. But you know, despite you're not winning in the game, do you still take some positives from the game?
I think I'd take positives. We've not been defending well this season at all, and we haven't kept a Premier League clean sheet this season, and that it's a big concern. We've kept 4 clean sheets in Europe, so we know we can do it. But I think it's a case of just taking away the really positive moments in defence, like Lewis Dunk, Jan-Paul Van Hecke, amazing saves from Bart Verbruggen at times as well. You know, if we didn't have these guys, we probably would have lost that game 8-0. You know, you were just chance after chance after chance, and it was hard to watch at the time. But you can take away some really, you know, those guys can hold their heads very high and say that they done enough for us to not lose that game. I know that sounds a little bit silly given that they're defenders and we conceded 2 goals, but they were doing everything they could. You know, Pascal Gross misses a big chance at the end to make it 1-1. there's not enough attacking output, as I've said, from the guys that you really expect it from. And I think that's where, you know, it fell apart for us, is that we just weren't giving you enough of a challenge going forwards, and that just allowed you to come onto us as you did. And yeah, as I say, Lewis Dunk, Jan-Paul Van Hecker, Bart Verbruggen can hold their heads very high, because, you know, if not for them, we would have taken a right old battering.
Yeah, definitely. I think for Arsenal, we have shown like this season that we do struggle with finishing our chances, even though like Martinelli, Saka in the first half had quite a few. And I think when you play, I think at Anfield next weekend, we won't have that luxury where in the first half, if we miss our chances, we know we will get more in the second half. So I think we did deserve to win, of course, but I think as well us getting a clean sheet as well is important, because like you said in Europa League, you're showing you can do that, and I know it's important, you know, for goalkeepers to get that as well. And you did mention you did have a really good chance, I know, before Kai Havertz scored, and I don't know how I didn't go in for Brighton at all. But for you, like, you know, I know we can talk about what if, but if that would have gone in, I feel like could you have gone on to win the game? Or because I feel like you had a spell in the second half before Havertz scored where you're really making things difficult for Arsenal, weren't you?
Yeah, I think one thing I always credit De Zerbi for is that his team never gives up. And we can find ourselves, like, for example, our first Europa League away game against Marseille, we found ourselves 2-0 down. As Lewis Dunk described it, deer in the headlights, and we're extremely tough circumstances to come back from, and we drew the game 2-2. It just goes to show that no matter what pressure a De Zerbi team is under, they will always wait and find that chance to maybe turn the game on its head. Pascal Gross, one of our most reliable players, misses a golden chance. I think it's probably a harder chance than what people give him credit for. The ball comes at him quite quickly, and he's sliding in on his weaker foot as well. But that goal goes in. As you say, the Kai Havertz moment doesn't happen, and we get a little bit of belief, and that's just the way the Premier League goes. And when you don't take those chances, which are so few and far between against a team like Arsenal, you're going to suffer, and we suffered.
Yeah, I think, like you said, unfortunately, it's just like football, because, you know, sometimes, you know, you miss your chance at the other end, someone else scores. But I definitely think Brighton had a really good spell then, and I think it was a bit of a difficult chance. It looked easy, but I think, like you said, it was on his weaker foot, and I think the angle was quite tight for him as well. But even though you weren't as dominant as us, I do think there were, you know, you did have a few good chances, and especially playing in Europe, I think it will tire you out. You just have to get used to it as a team. And as you mentioned, you know, Kai Havertz did get Arsenal that second goal, and he's really starting to. He's a lot confident now. I know that he said when he first joined he was really struggling with that, and we know at Chelsea that he, you know, yes, he did score in the Champions League final, but he wasn't going well for him, and he's really kind of showing his worth and importance now at Arsenal. I just wanted to ask you a bit about that as someone outside of Arsenal. He's obviously has cost a bit of money. We know the song 60 million, but for you, obviously it's a long season to go, and we've just got to see how it goes. But for you, do you see Kai Havertz as being a successful signing for Arsenal? What are your thoughts on him at Arsenal?
I think he's an amazing squad player to have, and he has the ability to become a really important player for Arsenal. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he was under a lot of unfair pressure at Chelsea. I think he joined them. Obviously, I know that they won the Champions League and everything with him, but after that, Chelsea just seemed to fall apart. And he could have been a really important player for Graham Potter, but that didn't work out at all, which is quite funny from a Brighton point of view. But when you're a young player, when he came into Chelsea, with the world at his feet, you go into a pressure cooker, and it's like, if I don't perform now, I'm going to be seen as a flop. Kai Havertz is not a flop. Any young player that goes to these clubs are not flops. It's just that it hasn't worked out for them at that club. And I think he's now got the opportunity to wipe the slate clean,
Yeah.
to be a part of an Arsenal team that will definitely in the next few years dominate winning silverware, and be a big part of that. And I think it was the right move for him at the right time. You know, he's not got to uproot his life because he's still playing in London. And it's just a chance for him to be in new surroundings, new players, new confidence, and just build on that. I loved him when he was, I think, was it Leverkusen he was at before?
Yeah, I think it might have been.
Yeah, and you know, in the Bundesliga, he was ripping things apart. He was so good. So there is a player in there, and Arteta, you know, Arteta's got the best out of some players that you thought he wouldn't be able to get the best out of. And you know, Kai Havertz is another one of them.
Yeah, I think the Kai Havertz one, like when we first signed him, including myself, I was a bit like surprised because I think that I know Kai Havertz can play in different type of positions, but in my mind, I think we need a striker. Still think we do need a striker, but I think especially with how much he cost, it did, surprise me. But I think with players, like, you do have to give them time. And I think at the start, before he obviously got awarded a penalty, we did think that would have helped his confidence. But I think when he scored for Germany, he came back to Arsenal. And since then, he's just been flying. And especially that Brentford game, I think at the end, it was a really tough game. Brentford are a great side, and we just really couldn't, get on the score sheet. Sometimes we'll do really good, but we just can't score. So I definitely think he will help us in the league, and I think it's great to see. I think sometimes players just need a fresh start somewhere else, if it's not working. And like you said, I think being in London is probably easier for him because, he was in London with Chelsea, and I think sometimes, like I said, players just need that fresh start to help them with their careers. So I definitely think, I'm hopeful with Havertz, and it's just good to see him do really well. And I did want to ask you a bit about your season because you're currently ninth. You're doing pretty. In Europa League, which I think is an incredible step for Brighton because, a few seasons ago, Brighton were probably down there in relegation zone, and look at you now. It's really incredible to see how much, your club's transformed and everything. Obviously, the league, you did get, I think you got sixth last season, if I'm right in saying. And I just wanted to ask you a bit about what are your hopes regarding the league, regarding the Europa League?
Yeah, so if you'd not clued up on the history of Brighton, I'll tell you a little bit about it now. So about 27 years ago, we almost went out of existence completely. It was very much like a Bury situation, or these teams that have really sadly lost their life as a club, and it's really sad to see for the supporters. And that was us 27 years ago. And we had to fight against our owners. We had to get other fans involved in the Fans United protest, and we were 1 goal and 1 point away from not existing. Because if we dropped into the National League, that would have been it. We would have died as a club. So the fact that we stayed up meant that we could ground share 80 miles away with Gillingham, of all clubs, and we didn't have a home. And then we came back and we played at this awful rundown athletics track until we got the Amex Stadium in 2011. And it's just been a meteoric rise for Brighton Hove Albion Football Club, from almost dying to being now in European football. And the stories I hear from older generation fans that have had to go through that. Obviously, I wasn't born. Well, I think I was about 2 years old when we didn't have a home. And I've heard so many stories, and the fact that we're up there in the Europa League, beating Marseille to top our group, beating Athens away, beating Ajax twice within 2 weeks was it's dream stuff for Brighton. And so I don't think there's many expectations, but there's just hope that this story can continue. Because it's an absolute fairy tale when we're just enjoying every single moment. We're, as I say, we topped our group. We're not in the next round of the Europa League because we got to buy into the next round. So we're already in the last 16 of the second most prestigious European competition in the world, it baffles me. It really does. I've watched players like Leon Best play for my football club, Darren Bent at the ripe old age of 35, 36. And, you know, to be watching Karu Matoma, João Pedro, Alexis McAllister last year winning the World Cup whilst at Brighton Hove Albion Football Club, the transformation of this club over the last 10 years, let alone the last 25 years, has just been unbelievable. And we're unrecognizable now. And our owner has so many aspirations for this football club that, you know, is beyond Brighton fans' wildest dreams. You know, he wants to take us to the Champions League. He wants to make sure that we're competing in Europe season in, season out. We're just happy to be there for one season as fans, and we don't care if next season we get relegated. We've lived it. We've had our good time. But the fact that our owner is so ambitious and wants to take us places, you know, we're probably one of a very few clubs that are owned by a fan. And it's just incredible to see. You know, I've spoken to Tony Bloom a few times, been lucky enough to have sit down chats with him, and what a guy. He is just all for this football club, and we couldn't ask for more. So as I say, there's no expectation. We're not setting ourselves to go and win it. We're not saying we need to come fifth next season because we came sixth last year and we need to improve. We're just going to enjoy it and see where we are at the end of the season.
I love that. Just enjoy the ride of, you know, being in Europe. I think, like you said, I think a few seasons ago, if you would have asked me, will Brighton, you know, be in Europa League, I probably wouldn't have believed you, because it's just, I think it's just so great though to see how far you've come. And I know you definitely have made it tough for Arsenal in the last few years. And I think, you know, it is great to see how far you have come. And I absolutely love your manager. I'm not going to lie. I think he just seems like the perfect fit for your club. He just seems like such a classy, likable person. And yeah, I really respect what he's doing. And I think it's just great to see how far you've come. What have you made of the job he's done?
It's polar opposites. Like, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect Graham Potter because he took us to a new level, and the football and the memories we had under Graham Potter were amazing. It's just sad that it ended the way it did. However, Roberto De Zerbi came in and took us to a completely new level. And the difference between watching Roberto De Zerbi on the sidelines to watching Graham Potter on the sidelines is just so different. It's like chalk and cheese, and it's like so amazing to see the passion from him on the sidelines. You know, when we score really important goals, he's jumping into the crowd, he's doing knee slides. I think it was actually at your place last season that he ran onto the pitch doing a knee slide.
I don't blame him.
Honestly, it's just he's one of us. He lives and breathes football. Some of the quotes that have come out from private friends who have said how highly he speaks of Brighton Hove Albion Football Club is just an absolute dream, because we've got an elite manager. I truly believe Roberto De Zerbi is the next Pep Guardiola, is the next Jurgen Klopp. He's got that aura about him that he can go right to the very top. And we're so lucky that he seems to absolutely love it at Brighton. I'm not naive enough to sit here and say that he's going to stay with us for the next 5-10 years. You know, clubs are going to be sniffing around. We know who we are, in a sense. We know we're Brighton. We know that other clubs are a more attractive prospect than we are. However, I think there's something different with Roberto De Zerbi. He will always do things in the classiest way. He would never leave us mid-season. He would never, you know, speak shade on our football club after he's gone. And the guy lives and breathes football, and that's exactly what you want from your manager. Someone that's, you know, is working 23 hours in a 24-hour day to make sure your football club gets the result at the weekend. And that's all you can ask.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's excellent. I definitely feel like, I do think, you know, Pep Guardiola, I do think in the next few years, possibly he will probably leave the Premier League, I think. And I do also hope. But I think because he's won everything, I feel like I can see it sort of changing. I do feel like he could be that new Pep Guardiola. And I think I'm with you. I feel like if he ever did, you know, change clubs in the next few years, I feel like he would do it in the right way. He would probably wait till the end of the season perhaps, or wait until he's won things with you guys? Because I know Graham Potter, I think with me, when that move happened, I just felt like it wasn't the right time. It just didn't feel right. It felt like not that he betrayed you, but he sort of left you when you kind of needed him in a way.
It's the way he went about it for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't wanna open old wounds here, but
Yeah.
like, you know, we've had incredible times since he left. However,
Mm.
I think it's just the way he went about it. You know, some of the players have spoken afterwards, um, and they've said that, you know, it was at a player's photo shoot that suddenly at lunchtime he was gone, and then the next thing they know, they turn on Sky Sports News and he's being appointed for Chelsea. You know,
Yeah, it all happened
why
fast, didn't
why
it?
why aren't you keeping your players who respect you and follow you? Why aren't you keeping them in the loop? For me, that's the ultimate respect gone.
Mm.
And you know, I have no idea what happened behind closed doors. I can't sit here and say that that definitely happened. However,
Mhm.
there's a few reputable sources that have mentioned that. Um, and yeah, for me, you don't do that. You don't do that to your players who, you know, we were sat fourth in the Premier League at the time we left. We'd just beaten Leicester 5-2, and yeah, it was a rubbish way to go. It was a rubbish way to take all of his backroom staff with him and leave us with absolutely no one. Andrew Crofts, who was an ex-Brighton player, and Adam Lallana had to step up and be our manager for 2 weeks. There was a few circumstances that meant that Brighton didn't play for like 4 weeks after
Mhm.
that. I think the Queen died, so the fixtures were scrapped, and I think there was an international break as well. So it gave us the time to go out and look for. Well, I say look for. We already had the replacement lined up because that's how forward-thinking our football club are. We probably already have the De Zerbi replacement lined up already. Um, but it gave us time to chat to Roberto De Zerbi and get him in the building, and then go back to the fixtures and then draw 3-3 at Anfield. It was some turnaround. So yeah, we're very happy with how Roberto's come in and
Mm.
taken us to the Europa League. And thinking back to Graham Potter, you know, you just have to be somewhat thankful for what he done for the club
Yeah.
because, as I say, he did take us to that next step. It did allow Roberto De Zerbi to come in and really hit the ground running with us. I couldn't imagine how Roberto De Zerbi would have dealt with a Chris Hughton squad that Graham Potter was left with. But, you know, it's just credit to the football club and how it's run. We're just so thankful that, you know, we've had all these players come through like Alexis McAllister, Moises Caicedo, you know, made us so much money in the last few transfer windows. Ben White, for example, who's gone to you guys.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we're so thankful because we're sitting on a gold mine with our players, and it just allows us that breathing space to when these players leave,
Mhm.
we've got the stability to then go again. And I don't think many clubs have had that. You've seen Leicester get ripped apart. You've seen Southampton get ripped apart. You've seen how that's ended. Everyone says, oh, Brighton are going to be the next Leicester, the next Southampton. It's not going to happen because we're already 5 steps ahead. So yeah, and until it happens, I will say that we're extremely well run. But obviously, I could look like an absolute mug if we get relegated next season.
No, I think I'm with you. I feel like managers and like players leaving is a whole part of like football, but I think, like you said, it's how you go about things. But I think you do see the good in what he did do for your club, and things do change, and everything does happen for a reason. And I feel like the manager you've got now is so likable, and I do love listening to his interviews as well. I think he's a credit to your club. But yeah, I do. I think as someone kind of outside from Brighton, I think it's just if you're able to maintain what you did last season, you know, stay within sixth place around that, or just do the best you can, because getting to Europe is something to really enjoy. Like you said, you're just enjoying what you're doing at the moment, and I feel like with Brighton, obviously playing in Europe does make things a bit more difficult, and you will have more injuries. But I do feel like you can put it up to any top 4 team this season. Like if you play a Man City or like a Liverpool or Tottenham, I do feel like you can give them a good go. And like you said with your
You
team,
hope we give Tottenham a good go
yeah,
anyway.
please, yeah. But like you said, your team never gives up, and I think that's what you really admire about the team. And I did want to kind of ask you a bit about Arsenal and Arteta, because last season we got really close for the league and we missed out a bit. The questions are, it could have been a lack of experience of, not having the Declan Rices in the team, and we did pick up injuries. But for you this season, you did say at the start you do see Arsenal going for the league again. But what have you made of Arsenal's start to the season so far?
Yeah, I think it's been a really good start to the season. I don't think Arsenal fans could be any happier. I know you had the disappointing result against Aston Villa last time up, but how well Villa are doing this season, I don't
Yeah.
think you can say it was a massive surprise. But I do think if it's not this season that Arsenal win the league, it's going to be a struggle, because I think Man City are dropping points that you really would not expect them to, and it's probably annoying for you guys that Liverpool are also keeping up, and then there's the surprise of Aston Villa, who I think sit in second at the moment.
Yeah, I think if we drew to Liverpool or lose, they'll overtake us. So it's
That's just
crazy.
absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, what a crazy season. But that happened before as well. I think it was Chelsea and Man City who fell off, and then Leicester won the league. It's like these teams who, you guys have been waiting for Arsenal to win the league since 2004, I believe. So it's like, how annoying for you guys that the season that it could possibly happen because Man City aren't doing very well, Aston Villa show up. It's like, just go away. This is not your scene. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do really believe that this season is Arsenal's. I really do. That there's a difference in your squad. I think Declan Rice gives you that edge in midfield. His tenacity, his passion, his work rate. He's the player that you need in the middle of the park who will die for your football club. And he bleeds passion. And the way he celebrated when he scored that last-minute winner against Luton must have sent you guys to Mars. It was, as I say, it's those moments that win you a league. If you can, I know it's against Luton, but you need to win ugly. If you want to be champions, you need to win ugly, and you're doing that. But you're also winning beautifully. You're playing amazing football at times. So yeah, I think it's Arsenal's to lose this season.
Yeah, I think as well, like you said, we're starting to kind of win, playing ugly. Like you said, Luton, I think in that game, with the draw, I thought that probably would have been reasonable because Luton really did give us a good go and they took their chances when they had it. And they did make a few mistakes, probably in goal, but you've got to give them that for showing that fighting spirit to show it to us. But like you said, Declan Rice did score at the end, and we are getting those goals right at the end. Arsenal do not make it easy for us, but I think the way we're showing like that fighting spirit at the end, and I think Declan Rice is like, against Chelsea when we were 2-0 down, he got us that, and obviously Trossard as well. But I think having that more experience.
Oh, sorry, Leandro who?
Sorry, guys. But yeah, I do think having experience does help us. And we have got more experience as like a few seasons have got on with like the likes of Zinchenko, Jesus. But I hope we can win it because it's been a very long time, and I know we've obviously got Party out Timber. If they're in the side, I would be more confident about us winning the league. I still think we can, but like you said, it wouldn't surprise me if Aston Villa gave it a good go because Unai Emery is a fantastic coach and I think he really suits Villa and how they play. And, Leicester, no one would have thought they would have won it, and they did. So I think people won't see them as title contenders, but I wouldn't, I'm still open to it because, like you said, football, anything can happen really. So
I think with Villa as well, what people have to remember is that there's a January transfer window coming up and they've got a big load of money behind them. I don't know where they're getting it from. Clearly their owner has, landed on a gold mine. but they've added incredibly well in the summer, and I've no doubt they will add reinforcements in January, and that could really push them on to be serious title contenders. And ever since Leicester won the league, I've always said anything is possible. You know, any team that can have a good run. People were talking about Brighton being title contenders at the start of the season. I genuinely believe if we'd kept Moises Caicedo and we'd kept Alexis McAllister, we would be up there. There's the difference. You need that midfield engine, and all of the teams at the top have that midfield engine. Douglas Luiz, Abuba Kamara, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard. It's so important it's so important to how serious you want to be as challengers. You know, it's no discredit to Billy Gilmore and Pascal Gross and the players that are doing quite a good job for us considering who we lost in the summer. But yeah, I really would not be surprised if Villa are challenging to the final day. It leads up to a great end of the season, right? You were so bored of Man City.
Yeah, the same old,
Man City, man. Just I want Arsenal to win the league just so it's something different.
Yeah, it gets boring after a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I know Liverpool have kind of dropped off for like a season or so, and I knew this season they would be back to their best, but I think like you said, I think it's just about having change. I did think Arsenal really would do it last season. I think for a while, for most of the time, we were top, and then just at the end, they overtook us. So I think, like you said, you know, if Arsenal didn't do it, I would be, you know, devastated. But I think if Villa got over City, I would be happy with that, because you kind of don't expect going to the season, if someone said to you Aston Villa would be title contenders, you know, you just wouldn't believe it, because Villa are a team that have grown like Brighton have, and I think in going to the season, I did see them as like a top 6, kind of getting into Europe type of team. But, you know, even if they did get top 4 as well, I think probably that would be an overachievement, because you don't expect them to do that. So I think a lot of like pundits have written Villa off, and I think for me, I would say never say never. I think it doesn't seem likely, because there's Man City. I know they've dropped points, but if a few teams like Arsenal, Liverpool lose points and they catch up, you never know. But I think the title race is an exciting one. And like you, I just don't want Man City to win it again. It gets boring after a while, doesn't it? So I hope
keep that title away from Manchester.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think United have anything to worry about. I don't think they're catching up anytime soon.
They got to worry about the relegation zone.
Yeah, they're more likely that to happen as well. But I'm just happy none of our rivals, more Arsenal's rivals like Spurs, are not up there. I mean, I know they've done better this season, but when Man City win things, it doesn't really hurt me in the way it would hurt me if like United, Chelsea would win it. But
the thing about Spurs is they had a great start to the season, but they're still Spurs.
You know what was funny? Everyone was like getting carried away, and I was just like, it happened with Conte when he came. He did really well, and then it just really went Spursy, especially with Mourinho as well. So I think regarding the title race, like you said, I think the top 4 right now will be interesting to see how it goes. But I just really would love Arsenal to get some silverware this season. Hopefully, we'll do that. But it has been really lovely to talk to you today, Joe. I'm really grateful for you to come on, and it's been lovely to chat with you. I know you do have a podcast, the Albion Obsessed. Do you want to just tell people a bit about it, and to those that might want to follow it?
Yeah, so we are Albion Obsessed. You can see it there.
I love that.
So yeah, we do post-match reaction. We do a few live streams here and there. We've just released a documentary as well, which was really fun to shoot. So we went back to our old stadium, which is still there, ramshackled sports ground with a running track around it, and like everything is still intact, which is amazing. So we took 2 of the older fans of our podcast back there so they could reminisce and, you know, really chat us to the new generation of fans what that stadium meant to us in our journey. So if you want to go and check that out and learn a bit more about the history of Brighton and Albion, it's on our YouTube channel. And we also had an interview with Fatboy Slim who famously sponsored us with his record company, who were called Skint. And we were skint. So that's all good fun. So yeah, go and check it out. Albion Obsessed. We'll be happy to have you along.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Sounds incredible. You're doing amazing things, and I will put that in the title so people can go and check it out. But as I said, it's been lovely to chat with you. This has gone so quick, and I really could talk to you all day. It's been so much fun, and you know what? I do really wish you well for the season. I do hope you can go far in the Europa League. But yeah, I hope you guys to those that are watching this back. I hope you do enjoy this video, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.